Hey there, so now we're going to talk about the float command. Now we took some time to put in this really cool menu and we can bop around. But when I get over to my favorite foods, you know that I used the table to put things side by side. And tables are good. Tables are good for doing this kind of thing. Tables are often used to create, a list of data, and it's a very effective way to put in tabular data. And the fact is, it's a trick to use it for images the way we're doing it. So we're going to do something a little bit different with with the images that is going to allow us to let the text roll up next to things on the same page so that you can see images in the context of the entire page as opposed to just living on their own. So you see that a lot when you have like different programs that here's a web page that I work on, and you'll notice that. Let me widen this up a little bit. You've got these images in here, and they kind of float left and they float right. What's actually happening is the text is floating right, the text is floating left. But the general idea is that this stuff lives side by side, and the text wraps around it. As you see, as I move it in, the text actually wraps around what's there. Well, we are going to do that. We are going to do that with our existing page right here. And we're going to make this text come up right next to the picture of Rufus. I'm going to show you how to do that right now using something called the float command. And what you're going to do is you're going to nest the image inside of the paragraph command. It'll be kind of neat. I'm going to do it down here. I'm going to add it. Now what I've done is I've given you an image of Rufus, and then I've also included a paragraph on Rufus. Isn't he incredibly cute? I want to take him home, and I bet you do too. And it encourages people to go to their local animal shelter if they're going to go get themselves a pet. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go down below this so you can see it, see what we're working on right here. I'm down here at the bottom of the page, and I'm going to start by putting in the image just to make sure the image is the way I want. So I'm going to put an image and this src, and then equals, and then I'll put in my quotes, and it's images/puppy.jpg. And so far that's good. We'll put in my alt text because we're going to be really good about that. And alt, and we're going to call it cute puppy again. And then we're going to put in the style information like we did before. Style, and put in the equals, and I'm going to make it smaller this time. So the width is only going to be, I'm going to make it 225. So I'm going to go about half size, semicolon, height equals, height is colon 150 pixels. So I'm going to make it about half the size that's there. And then I'm going to close that off. So I'm going to save it. And it should appear down here, and it should be a little bit smaller. So let's take a look at the page. And there it is. I've got it after that, and I've got it. I'm actually going to move this guy down here, down to the bottom. I'm going to put in a break tag so it doesn't accidentally start that. And actually, no, I don't even need this at all, do I? I can get rid of it entirely because we don't need this link because we've got a link up here to take us home. So I can get rid of this link. So there we go, and now do we have it? Yep, looks fine. So he looks a little bit smaller, but I'm going to want my Rufus the puppy information right next to it. Watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to take all of this, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste another copy of it right here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to cut and paste it inside of it. So watch this. Stop. And so far, it's got the P, and then it's got the image, and then the text starts here. It nudged up next to it, but it's not here where you would expect it to be. How are we going to do that? Well, I'm going to add another command, and it's going to be right after the style command. I'm going to put in something called float, and then we're going to colon, and then we're going to say right, and we're going to put the semicolon after it. So I'm going to put in a command called float colon right, and I'm going to save that. And what it's telling it to do is it's telling the text to float to the right of this image. So here we go. And sorry, it's telling the image to float to the right of the text. I apologize, I misspoke. So when I say float right, it's going to move the image up there. Now if I change this to float left, and I save it again, it's going to flip it over there. Now, what's the difference? Because now it will continue to wrap that around. And if I have even more information, it will continue to wrap around the side. And to prove that point, I'm going to change this to 100, and I'm going to change this to 50. So I'm going to make it a really small image. I'm going to save it, and I'm going to refresh the page. You made it really small, but watch what happens. If I shrink it down, it actually continues to wrap the text around the image. Now, the other thing I don't like, first of all, I don't like this. I'm going to go 200. I'm going to make this 100 because I think it's really small. So I'll fix this. But the other thing I don't like is that this is jammed right here. And I mean really jammed up to this thing. And I think that's a little bit silly. So what I'm going to do down in here is I'm going to go next to this. I'm going to add another command called padding. And padding allows me to pad it right, left, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to put padding. The padding I'm going to use padding right. And I'm going to say 10 pixels, semicolon, padding bottom. So I'm going to add that one, 10 pixels, and semicolon. And I'm going to save it. And when I do, I refresh the page. And now it made it a little bigger because I made it a little bigger, and it gave me a little bit of breathing room between it. So I have a way, and then of course, yes, I can go up here and I can get rid of this mess, and I can save it, and I can refresh the page, because that's really how I want it to be in there. And actually, because this is such an important part of the page, I'm going to probably make 300 by 200 my size, and I'll save it again, and that looks a little more like it. And then as I move it around, now the text will continue to adjust as needed because I'm using the float command. So you can use that to make any of your images kind of work around. So you can use tables when you need to, and you can use the float command to move things around your page and let things live side by side. Either of those work perfectly well. Hope that helps. Thank you for watching.